Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, taking out a fun and exciting episode for you guys today, and no, you're not seeing double, even if you just did see double of those zombies in front of you. That is because about a week and a half ago, I talked about an update to Doom 32X Resurrection and said how good it is. Well, today we are playing and talking about Ultimate Doom Resurrection 32X, a brand new version of that same modification that adds in a whole new episode and a lot of new textures for a bigger ROM size, and that was ever only available on the Tower of Power version of the game, where you use the Sega CD, 32X, and Sega Genesis in conjunction. So now this is something today that if you have original hardware but not the 32X, you can enjoy. If you have Mr. FPGA, you can 100% play as well without having the need for the Sega CD attachment. And honestly, more Doom's always a good thing, because even in 2025, the original Doom still just absolutely hits as far as gameplay is concerned. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. So basically what this version of Doom 32X does is bring in the ultimate moniker as well as that extra episode. Because back in the day, Doom expansions were all the rage, and even id Software would make new levels for their games. So having this entire new episode within the 32X version of the game is already a 10 out of 10. But they actually increased the ROM size here as well, so they could add in more texture variety, what you would see in the Sega CD 32X Genesis combo version of the game as well. So honestly, outside of some of the Redbook audio, you're getting an absolutely amazing version of Doom with extra episodes, extra graphics, and extra performance without ever having to touch the Sega CD. And when I talk about this overall modification and ROM hack, a lot of people say that they don't actually have the Tower of Power. It is something that I do keep in my collection, and this is maybe one of the games that shows that putting all three pieces of hardware together is worth it, but I totally understand it is a very limited use case. And while you can run the actual 32X Sega CD version in RE's the emulator, people really do want to play it on real hardware. And even on the Mr. FPGA side of things, we don't actually have a full Tower of Power core, just because of the logic element size in something like the DE10 Nano, we can't fit it all. So having something like Ultimate Doom 32X Resurrection exist basically fixes up all of those shortcomings if you don't have all that hardware strung together as one. And honestly, that to me is just straight up something to celebrate. But as we navigate through the world of Ultimate Doom here, the number one thing about the 32X version of the game with all of these different enhancements from the mod team is just how much better it performs than vanilla 32X Doom. And I totally get it. Back in the day, a lot of my friends didn't have gaming PCs, but some of them did have a 32X, so this is a lot of the ways that people actually first experienced this game, and that definitely matters. Nostalgia is important, like I said in the previous video. Yes, there's 100 different source ports of Doom out there, and there's on paper better ways to play than the 32X, but this is now definitely one of my favorite versions, and because being a Sega kid growing up, it's one of those things. I do enjoy this version of the game, but it definitely was janky as the retail cart. But when fans come in, especially Doom fans, and start modifying everything, you end up with something that people couldn't even imagine existing back in the retail days. And a lot of that is down to the ROM size, because ROM memory was expensive back in the 90s, so a lot of developers had to try to cram as much as they could on that cart in a very small space. That's why you end up in situations where you lose an entire episode of Doom, because the cart just really couldn't actually fit it. Or that's why you end up in a situation where a lot of textures are repeated and removed, because it's easier to load the texture in once and display it a lot of places than it is to take up more memory space on the ROM with different alternate textures. And that's something that we really don't have to worry about today. Whether you're emulating it, the file size doesn't matter. Whether you're on a flash cart also doesn't matter. And even repo carts now, they do have the ability to have much larger RAM sizes on there. They can actually fit all of the game. I think I just said RAM, I definitely meant ROM. But honestly, again, I love that the community does stuff like this. There's so many different mods of Doom across PC and basically every single console out there, because back in the day you had to have a port of Doom on your hardware if you actually wanted to be considered serious. And it's one of those things. Sure, Super Nintendo had one, and that was definitely not very good, but with the new limited run games version coming out, that has been improved. But the 32X delivered the promise of being able to play Doom at home, and now with the Genesis hardware and the sound as well, you get a great soundtrack. So go ahead and listen, and I'll be right back. I mean, honestly, there's just something about the Sega sound hardware that just has a crunchiness and bassiness that I think makes the Doom soundtrack absolutely excel. And just so you know, again, you can play this on real hardware, you can play it on Mr. FPJ, or you can play it in Ares emulation. And because last video I showed you the 32X core on Mr., today I am using Ares just for the ease of capture. It is one of those things, no matter how you play the game, you're gonna have a good time, and the only wrong way to play it is not to try it out in the first place. But I think one of the biggest things here, outside of getting a whole new episode, is also getting additional textures, because I would say sometimes you see the same textures a couple too many times in Doom 32X Resurrection, so it is fun that people decided to fork that project and actually increase the ROM size and add new stuff in. And that really is the fun thing about ROM hacking and fan games in general. So much of the learned experience from one team can be utilized for an offshoot to make things even better, because all of this is open source. You can kind of go in and do whatever you want. And honestly, I don't think there is a game that has been more heavily modified with different versions and different ideas than Doom and Doom 2. Think of all the different WAD packs you could buy. It's something like EB Games, at least that's where I went shopping. You could buy for $10 1,000 new Doom levels or map packs, and honestly, even though about 980 of them were absolute garbage and nobody really cared to play them, about 10 or so would be about as good as you could get from id Software. And even back then, people were just creating so many different maps and doing things with the game. And think about how old Doom is, and think about how many years people have still been making new things out of this game. Honestly, I think in 2050, you're still going to be seeing Doom ROM hacks on stuff like 32X, Sega Saturn, even the PC version of the game. And there's just something about seeing it again on 32X hardware that I think looks really good. The overall color and video output, all of the audio of the Sega sound hardware, it just has a very specific vibe that you're either going to absolutely love, or you're just going to go back and play the PC version of the game. But honestly, Thy Flesh Consumed was an amazing expansion as far as new episode was concerned, and back in the day, everyone was just desperate to play some more Doom. I mean, think about how many things you had. You had Final Doom, you had all of the different expansion packs, and then you got to Doom 2 and all of their expansion packs as well. For like 4 years or so, this game was just absolutely taking up everybody's brain space, and even in 2025, when I want to make a video about a new 32X ROM hack, I end up playing way more than I need for the captures, because I just get sucked in and start realizing I'm enjoying Doom again, even though I only played it like 2 weeks ago for the Doom 32X Resurrection update. So Ultimate Doom 32X Resurrection just basically takes that and makes it, in my opinion, better. Now, I'm not trying to pit one project against the other. They both have a super good place in the overall Doom ecosystem and Sega 32X ecosystem, but obviously people have preferences. I just want to say that I think both teams have done an incredible job. Let's go into soundtrack sample 2 right now, because again, Doom music on the Genesis and 32X is some of my favorite, and I'll be right back with a bit more detail. I mean, I heard this soundtrack and sound effects sat over 30 years ago, and it still hits today as good as it ever did. And I think the main takeaway is it doesn't matter what version of Doom you play, they are all fun, because this game is just absolutely one of the best games ever made, and it still holds up in 2025 to the point, again, where when I'm capturing this footage, I end up playing the game for like 2 hours after, just because I get hooked in. And as far as Ultimate Doom 32X Resurrection is concerned, I do think it is now the, very pun intended, ultimate way to play Doom on the 32X, unless you have a Tower of Power, and then I would definitely use the CD version as well. But it's just so fun to see fans and modders continually go in and make things better and better, because if you weighed this against the released retail version of the game, it would be an absolute night and day difference, and you would know you never really wanted to go back to retail ever again, because fans did exactly what they couldn't do back in the day, which is make basically a perfect version of Ultimate Doom on Sega hardware. So if you want to play this one, there is a link to the website where you can grab the patch down below. You have to patch it yourself, but I'm sure you'll be able to figure that out. But we're done. I'm going to keep playing some more Doom, and I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.